Well, good late morning, everybody. It's Dave coming to you from the paddock here in Southern Maryland. It's about 11:30 Friday morning. We're going to continue reading our book. Today is chapter 7. It's our first economic principle, the free economy. So we've been talking about chapter 1 is about ignorance of the principles and how it's dangerous for us. Chapter 2 is a discussion of the principles of order, justice, and freedom, and that the principles really fall into moral convictions, political convictions, and economic convictions. Chapter 3 was the moral principle of the nature of man, and that we have certain inalienable rights because we are made in God's image. Chapter 4 was the moral principle of church and state. Chapter 5 was our first political principle, ordered liberty. Chapter 6 was the second political principle, the Federal Republic. Today is Chapter 7, the economic principle of the free economy. So that's kind of how the book is treated to where we are today. As always, I'm enjoying my Maryland Meerschaum. I cleaned it really nicely today. I haven't cleaned it much. I'm at home almost 2 weeks. I hadn't cleaned it. So nice and clean. I am continuing my daily journey through Big and Burley. I got to tell you, Cornell and Deal stuffed this thing, man. It is full. It's I've been smoking it. Today is day 5, and I feel like I haven't gotten very far into it because every time this is 5 days into this thing. It was packed. It was literally packed tight. I had to dig it out at first, and now I kind of shake it up. But anyway, I'm enjoying it immensely. Let me do a tamp here. Do a quick relight. It is incredibly hard to read to you and keep a pipe lit. I tell you though, I really do enjoy this. When I bought it, there were only 4 tins available, so I don't know if it's becoming unobtainium or not. So I'll give you a heads up, I do enjoy this a lot. I doubt it'll make my top 10 list, but it might. I gotta look at it. I haven't looked at my top 10 list in a while. But I'm definitely a Burley guy. Those Ken Byron Ventures are still at the top of my list. That Burley Morning Pipe and Burlier Morning Pipe. In Boswell's Premium Burley is still up there. 8 State Burley is up there. And this is probably going to, if it makes top 10, it'll probably be on the bottom side of it. But clearly there's there's a pattern there. My mouth enjoys the Burley. It enjoys it more than I like a couple of the aromatics like I've talked about. I like it more than the Latakia in the Oriental side of it. I don't like that. I just don't like. My mouth does not enjoy that flowery. It tastes like grandma's apartment smells. I just don't enjoy that part, and that's kind of how Orientals strike my mouth. But anyway, we'll do a full-on discussion about this, but probably not. I want to be smoking it for a week. I actually want to get through the first 10, but I don't know if I want to wait that long. We'll see. But anyway, enough about tobacco, enough about my pipe, enough about Big and Burley. Let's move on. Let's do some reading. Political freedom and economic freedom, the great majority of Americans think, are bound together inseparably. Nor can freedom of religious opinion be altogether separated from freedom of economic life. This conviction that a free market economy is a support of all freedom is one striving motive behind the American championship of what Marxists usually call capitalism and what more prudent thinkers usually call our market economy or free enterprise system. I agree with that. The term capitalism, probably doesn't describe it very well. Our market economy, free enterprise system, I agree. I think sounds much more appropriate. There are other reasons for this American attitude. One of them is the belief that only a society which, by and large, is economically free can be a just society. For the just society is one in which each man may seek the things which belong to his nature. By contrast, a system of economic totalitarianism treats the industrious and the idle, the able and the stupid, as if they were alike, which is contrary to the laws of justice. Yet it remains possible for a nation to lose economic freedom through a failure to understand the necessary conditions of such freedom, just as it is possible for a people to lose political freedom in a fit of absence of mind. Our first necessity then is to apprehend the theories that lie behind the reality of our free market economy. To die for religion, justice, order, freedom, honor, or the lives of other people usually is a noble act. It is an insult to an American soldier to ask him to die for a new automobile or an apple pie, but it is a compliment to an American soldier to ask him to die for the ashes of his fathers and the temples of his God. He's saying that just in saying, hey, be careful about defending our American way of life through saying we have lots of great things. We should be defending it from a position of where religion, justice, order, freedom, and honor. We should ask him, a soldier to die for the ashes of his fathers in the temple of his God instead of defending our economic way of life. Thus, our American economy, though good in itself, is important not merely for its own sake. Its real importance is the contribution it makes to our justice and order and freedom, our ability to live in dignity as truly human persons. Our standard of living, though often enjoyable in itself, is not the be-all and end-all of life. Economic production is merely the means to certain ends. One of those ends is the satisfaction of man's material wants, and there are other ends served by this means of economic production, the satisfaction of certain profound desires in human nature, such as the desire for fruitful work and sufficient leisure and hopeful competition for one, and the maintenance of a decent society for another. Now, in the economic realm, what is the American cause? It is the defense of an economic system that allows men and women to make their own principled choices in life, which reinforces political liberty. I like that. In the economic realm, what is the American cause? It is the defense of an economic system that allows men and women to make their own principled choices in life, which reinforces political liberty, which adequately supplies the necessary necessities of life, which recognizes and guides beneficially the deep-seated human longing for competition and measurable accomplishment. What we call the free market economy does these things. I like that. I'm talking about the definition of capital now. We may call this system of free enterprise capitalism if we like, though the Marxist word does not really mean very much. Capital is simply those goods, tools, machines, buildings, ships, trains, and the like, which are used to produce other goods. In civilized society, therefore, any civilized society, therefore, is capitalistic, since capital goods always are required to produce consumer goods. In that sense, America undoubtedly is a capitalistic country. Nowhere else in the world, in any age, has the ownership of capital been as widespread as it is today, directly or indirectly, in the United States. And the defense of this economy is an important part of the American cause. I just thought it was interesting. He said, nowhere else in the world, in any age, has the ownership of capital been as widespread as it is today, directly or indirectly, in the United States. So that was a pretty bold statement. And I know a lot of people might disagree with it, but if you look at the stock ownership, bond ownership, precious metal ownership, it's all legal in the United States. Anyone can choose to participate in that. I think that's really the first time in any system anywhere in the world that's spread throughout our population as much as it has. At the heart of the theory of the free economy lies the idea of competition. Something in human nature seems to call for the possibility of a real victory in life and the possibility of a real defeat. Life is enjoyable because hope exists, hope for success of one sort or another. And hope for success cannot exist without a corresponding dread of failure. In a very real sense, life is a battle. We never could be happy were it otherwise. The strong enjoy struggling against obstacles. Life without obstacles is boredom, just as life without purposeful work is infinitely dreary. Yet by and large, competition is the means through which most improvement of society is accomplished. Intellectual competition and military competition and economic competition. In economic competition, when restrained by moral principles, almost always does good to everyone in society. As Samuel Johnson said once, a man is seldom more innocently occupied than when he is engaged in making money. This economic competition is essential to a free economy. This section is called Motives to Integrity. Men and women are industrious, thrifty, honest, and ingenious in economic life only when they expect to gain certain rewards for being industrious, thrifty, honest, and ingenious. Some few human beings in any age work simply out of altruism, desire to benefit their fellows, but the vast majority work principally out of self-interest, to benefit themselves and their families. There is nothing wrong with this state of affairs. It is merely a condition of ordinary human nature. Competition puts a premium on industry, thrift, honesty, and ingenuousness. The slothful, the spendthrift, the known cheats, and the stupid fall behind in the economic contest of free enterprise. By following their own self-interest, able men and women serve the public interest, and the habits and skills which intelligent competition stimulates tend to improve, by example, even the less able members of society, while the rewards of successful competition, in terms of prestige and material gain, serve as the ordinary motives to ordinary integrity. Industry, thrift, honesty, and ingenuousness deserve concrete rewards. A competitive economy provides those rewards. The use of compulsion to enforce work and a semblance of industry, thrift, honesty, and ingenuousness is slavery, incompatible with free society and the concept of the dignity of man. Therefore, a society without economic competition either falls into a dismal decay or else falls into slavery. When the communists swept away economic competition and abolished all the old motives to ordinary integrity, they found themselves compelled to resort to severe punishments in order to get work done at all. The slave labor camps, the industrial spies and informers, the rigid production quotas for factories and individuals, the enslavement of whole nations are the manifest consequences of abolishing competition. When men and women work for their own improvement, they work with the best that is in them. But when they work only because of fear of the stick, they do as little as possible. It is not competition which is ruthless. Rather, it is the lack of competition that makes a society ruthless. Because in a competitive economy, people work voluntarily for decent rewards, while in a non competitive economy, a few harsh masters employ the stick to get the work done. A free economy is one in which men and women can make their own choices. They can choose the kind of work they want to do and where they want to do it. They can buy what they choose and abstain from what they choose. They can work when they like within limits and rest when they like. They can change occupations and employers and the material circumstances as much as they like. These are great benefits that help satisfy the fundamental human longing for self-reliance. They make men and women free. Such a system keeps men and women in perpetual childhood. We're talking about a servile economy, sorry. But an economy without competition is a system in which men and women are allowed almost no free choices. Such a system keeps men and women in perpetual childhood, their wants provided for by a central authority, and their choices in proportion made for them by the same central authority. A great critic of literature, George Saintsbury, expressed with loathing the general curse of such a society. Put away all the thought of the crime and agony which would have to be gone through in order to bring about this socialist utopia. Get it somehow brought about by fairy agency. Could there even then be anything more loathsome than one wide waste of proletariat? Everybody as good as the president, everybody as well educated as everybody else, everybody stationed, rationed, regulated by some kind of abstract state, as equal and really as free as pigs in a sty, and not much better deserving the name of man, or the manly chances of position, possession, genius, ancestry, and all that differentiates us from the brutes. So the free economy, characterized by liberty of choice, private ownership of capital, and competition, is a bulwark of all freedom. It also is a bulwark of justice. Justice, we ought not to forget, means to each his own, to each man the things that suit his own nature. Zealots for economic collectivism talk a great deal about social justice, by which they mean that all people ought to have an equal share in the world's goods. Closely examined, however, their theories can produce only social injustice, for once applied, those theories deprive men and women of the rewards that belong to their nature. Another way that I've read in the past to say that is, and I see it in our Western cultures today, is that people wish to share in the results, not in the opportunity. Because sharing in the opportunity means you have to take risk and work. They just want to share in the results. And I think that is a real problem in today's world. In order to establish equality, Marx wrote in Das Kapital, we must first establish inequality. By this he meant that the communist state will take away from the strong, the clever, the thrifty, the ingenious, the dependable, from all the people who have unusual abilities and savings, and would give their property and the product of their energies to the weak, the dull, the improvident, the routine-minded, the slack. For complete equality of condition in this world can be established only if a society is willing to penalize the better natures in order to benefit the less gifted natures. If we believe in the idea of justice that lies at the root of classical and Christian thought, such an undertaking would not be justice, but gross injustice. It would deny to most of the better men and women the things that belong to their nature, the rewards of private integrity. But Americans do have the right and the duty to defend their own free economy with all its benefits against collectivistic attack or subversion, to defend their economy in the interest of freedom and justice and order and prosperity. I thought that was good. It's yet again, the book is talking about duties. Americans do have the right and the duty to defend their own free economy. It's up to us to defend the way of life that we choose, the economic benefits of our system, with all its benefits against collectivistic attack or subversion, to defend their economy in the interest of freedom and justice and order and prosperity. It's up to us to defend that. And I think reading books like this, arming ourselves with that knowledge so that we can talk about, a free economy is the basis of how we provide freedom and justice to individuals. Whatever its shortcomings, the American system of free enterprise has given our nation a prosperity very rare in any age, and it is infinitely freer and juster and more orderly than any collectivistic scheme of total regulation. And that ends chapter 7, guys. Again, I'm enjoying reading this book. I get to read it twice because I read it once for me and then I read the highlights to you. So anyway, your comments have been great. I'm going to keep going. We have chapters now 8, 9, and 10 left. I've finished the book this morning, so we'll proceed on. Tomorrow is my CEO school. I don't know if I'll have time to do a reading for you. If I do, I'll get one out tomorrow, but if not, I'll be back on Sunday. Guys, that's it. I hope you're still getting something from this. This book is gold, in my opinion. Talk to you later. Bye, everybody.